Sometimes a licensed game comes out and it's awesome. Look at Pepsi Man. You play as Pepsi Man, and you're just running through on the PlayStation 1, and it's a great old time. Is this a wild concept? Absolutely. But what happens when a big company partners up with a game development studio and they make something just completely awful or weird that it even exists? We're not talking about like cool little gems like Doritos Crash Course that then became awful with Doritos Crash Course 2. I don't know, maybe we should have talked about Doritos Crash Course 2. What a terrible experience that was. But what about something like a Skittles fantasy game? A Hooters video game? I mean, look at all of the fast food restaurants that even had video games. Taco Bell, McDonald's, Domino's Pizza. Burger King made Xbox and Xbox 360 games that you could actually buy at the restaurant. This is a deep rabbit hole, and we're looking for just the things that were taken way too far. I'll be honest, when it comes to licensed games, I usually set the bar kind of low already, but Taco Bell released a game in 2000 for DOS. It's like a 3D action adventure dungeon crawling type game, and honestly, for 2000, this game, visually speaking, looks like it was maybe made in 1993, not 2000. But whatever, I mean, is the game good? That's what's important. So here's the deal. This isn't Temple Run. We're playing as Baja Bill, who has to go through this temple of some lost jungle civilization. There's like snakes, scorpions, you gotta watch out for. And the only thing that can replenish your health is the glorious Taco Bell food. That's the food item in the game. That's the connection to Taco Bell. I mean, I guess we get to throw sauce packets, so that's something. But hey, you know what? The game was free, included in kids' meals, which was really cool. In 2000, DOS was already considered outdated though, so that was a little weird. The game's short, the controls aren't the best, but it was a free game, and I'm sure some people have nostalgia for it. It's a weird premise that this even exists, but hey, it was something.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
One of the oldest examples of a licensed game that like very obviously is just advertising something was the game Tapper from 1984. You play as a bartender and you have to serve customers liquor or beer. You then have to collect the empty mugs and get tips. And some people might say, oh my god, I spilled everything all over my desk. And some people might say that this game has a subtle Budweiser advertisement in it. I don't know if you guys see it. I think to the surprise of the publishers, this game actually wasn't the worst. So they decided to do something different with it because they didn't want to like be labeled as a game that's advertising alcohol to minors. They rebranded the game and called it Rootbeer Tapper, which would then be developed and released in arcades. This one's interesting though, because later on the game would get at-home releases of the same game, and some of those would actually have the Mountain Dew logo, but other versions of the game would have the Pepsi logo instead. Wild times. We got more to talk about, but before we get into it, guess what, guys? We actually have a sponsor. Mundly by Pearson. What's a better way to kick off 2025 than to learn a brand new language? Matter of fact, last year in April, I decided I was going to try to learn Japanese. It's a pretty difficult language and I'm really actually happy with the progress that I've made. But one of the biggest things I've learned through this process is that consistency is key. And Mundly is making it super easy for you to turn a new language learning resolution into a reality with a huge 96% off lifetime access during their exclusive New Year sale. All you have to do is go to mundly.app/rocketsloth and you get 41 possible languages at your fingertips for just a one-time payment, no subscription, just learning, including difficult languages like Japanese, but there's other languages too, like Catalan or Finnish. They're trusted by 125 million users. Mundly even has like a chatbot that provides real conversations with speech recognition so you can perfect your pronunciation and get real-time feedback. Plus, lessons are created with fluent speakers to ensure its authenticity. They got a hands-free mode that is great if you're like working out, cooking, or like commuting. It's like having a personal language coach in your pocket, but you gotta move quick because the sale ends January 31st, and your chance to grab lifetime access for just 4% of the regular price is like a pretty great opportunity. So click on the link in the description or the pinned comment, mundly.app/rocketsloth, and start your language learning journey today. Big thanks to Mundly for sponsoring this video. Let's go ahead and get back into this topic. The whole marketing campaign behind the M&Ms has always been really, really weird to me. I honestly don't know how this became so popular. I don't know, they just popped some eyes on these guys, gave them some arms arms and legs, and next thing you know, people are drawing fan art of the characters online. Nonetheless, there's no denying the fact that the whole M&M marketing campaign was successful, and in 2000, there was a video game for the PC called M&M's The Lost Formulas. This was a Mac and PC game back in the day, and I'm sure some people have a soft spot for this game because of nostalgia of this game being, probably a game that children played back in the day. And there was some effort put into the game. I mean, it's a licensed game, but they did something here. It's in 3D, so they had that going for it for 2000. That's, a bar that was matched. And the gameplay is varied. I mean, you could be kart racing in one level, doing like a platforming, running in another level. The controls are not very good, kind of slippery and all over the place. How can I say it's kind of a Crash Bandicoot clone without saying it's a Crash Bandicoot clone? Probably like that. It even had a special math mode, which could help players solve math problems. You had to do them. If this mode didn't make it clear to you that this game was for kids, they're math levels. The soundtrack is a little bit annoying, but I will give them a little bit of credit. They had these cutscenes that were like pre-rendered, and I think as a kid, that's kind of cool. A lot of games in the 2000s didn't really embrace this too much. I mean, some did, but this was kind of impressive. This was PC gaming at its peak if this was the only game that you had back in the day. And for a game developed by Simon & Schuster, the book publishing company, I'm a little impressed that the game is what it is. But this was just the starting point for M&Ms in video games. Okay, there was M&M's Mini Madness for the Game Boy Color, which came out in 2000. You see, in the late 90s, M&M's released M&M Minis, and they were like M&M's but smaller, often sold in like a little tube that you could grab at like a little end cap at a store. And with that, they launched a crazy marketing campaign that I remember being pretty commonplace throughout the 2000s. There was a ton of these things. They were chaotic, they were a mess, and they have a Game Boy game. It was a pretty basic platforming game, and there was like some puzzles, and there's different M&M characters you play as. It was pretty generic. The game didn't really review too well. IGN said it was barely competent and too easy. But I mean, what did you expect? It's an M&M game. In 2001, there was M&M's Shell Shocked for the PlayStation 1, which honestly was pretty much just like the other 3D M&M's game for PC and Mac, but this time on the PlayStation, and a couple of little changes. There are a few other M&M games released over the years. There was M&M Kart Racing for the Wii. It got a 23%. In 2008, there was M&M's Adventure, and this was like a, big moment for M&M's. It was like a reboot of the whole video game franchise here, and there's different playable characters, and the green M&M has a racket. I don't know. There was boss fights in the game, and if you actually managed to play through the game, there's like levels based on different holidays for whatever reason. The game wasn't received very well either. And then on the Wii, there was M&M's Beach Party, which honestly, for an M&M game, surprisingly okay. It's just a bunch of party games with an M&M theme to it. But like, hey, you can't knock Skee Ball or like a game where you throw these rings or whatever, and it doesn't make any sense. It's fine. More competent than other M&M games, and I think we get the gist of the whole M&M video game franchise. Now, for the sake of this video, we wanted to talk about both games that were like commissioned to be made as a promotional piece and games that would obtain a license to a franchise and then go on to make a game. Now, one that's just an interesting concept, even if it's not the worst game ever, was Darkened Skye, which is essentially like, I don't know, a third-person action adventure game. You swing like a staff around or something, and it's all tied together with Skittles. Essentially, you play as this character named Skye. It's like a fantasy world, and she can perform magic, but only by using Skittles candies to give her energy for her magic powers. It's just a wild concept of a game. What's actually interesting, though, is that when the publisher Simon & Schuster, again, wanted to make a video game, they actually pitched the game as an M&M's game, but they were like, we have this backup plan for a different idea, Skittles instead, and they ended up actually landing the license to both M&M's and Skittles. We know how the M&M's stuff went down, but yeah, for Skittles, this was a big W. I really can't imagine that this is like a marketing plan does much for the brand, but who knows? Maybe they know something that I didn't. I mean, the game is okay-ish. It was like a 7 out of 10 game, really a 6 out of 10 game, but still, you guys get what I'm saying. Okay, do you remember the TV show Pimp My Ride?
Yes, of course. With Exhibit.
Yeah, with Exhibit. So Exhibit would show up. He would like find some trashy person's car, not trashy person, sorry, trashy car owned by a person, and they would pimp the car out. And what's really interesting is this show, like, they wouldn't fix any like mechanical problems with the cars. They would just overdo the cosmetics of the car. And the show was wild. There was some crazy things that they did with cars that weren't practical, and they decided to make a game based off of it. And I actually got this game for my brother's birthday as a gift. I convinced my mom to buy it for him. He played it for like a day and then never played it again. The game was wild. You would drive around and like you would have to like figure out what to do for your customers or your client. Not customers, the clients for the show. I don't remember much, but I remember like there was one where she was like a fashion designer, so he like put a runway in the back of the car or something, or like a wardrobe in the back of the car.
Now, I know you're a model, Marcia, and I know you just love getting on the runway. So check it out. We hit you up with your own automated runway with its own sound sync laser show.
Oh my god, I can't believe it! X, I love you so much.
Some weird stuff, some things that would never be practical in real life. So the game was just like bizarre in itself, just like the show. I don't think there was a lot of replayability, but it definitely was a game that existed.
So you said you drive around. Is that majority of the gameplay? Do you even pimp the cars?
Yeah, you get to pimp the cars out. It's like you drive around for a bit, you get points or money, and then you spend the money on customizing the car. But like the whole point is to like really find what their interests are and customize the car based on what they're interested in.
Like get to know them on a deep personal level.
Yeah, like show the gameplay.
Man, this job is getting too dangerous. So, I hear you work at a radio station, but how can your radio be this bad?
Actually, that's new. I put that in myself.
Yeah, I can definitely tell. Your bruiser was black and blue when we picked it up, but no longer. Take a look at your new ride.
Oh my God!
So I hear you miss some meals sometimes.
Kinda. I eat, but I just tend to snack and stuff between jobs.
All right, so check it out. In order to take care of all of that and tie it all together, we got you a mini fridge and a microwave oven in your car.
What? Oh my God!
So Hooters is famous for two things. The boobs and the hot wings. But what kinda is infamous is the licensed game Hooters Road Trip, published by Ubisoft. Yes, that Ubisoft that makes Assassin's Creed and stuff like that nowadays. They used to make actual bangers. I mean, this wasn't a banger. That's why it's on this list. 99% of the game is just a generic racing game that is actually a repackage from another game called Free Will in USA that was released on PC. So they took all the assets and then slapped on a couple of like videos in between races of like Hooter girls saying like something like, "You're pretty good, keep it up."
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Georgia. How you doing, sugar?
That's about it. That's how we got Hooters Road Trip. It is pretty regularly put on those like top 50 worst games of all time lists in like different magazines. So it definitely is a all-time classic.
I think we should sit down and play it just to make sure that's a bad game.
Sure.
Now, there's a lot of licensed games that have existed over the years. Some of them, there's not much to say. I mean, there was a Kool-Aid Man game way back in the day. Why would they make this? I don't know. But one game that I recently discovered, never knew it existed, and to find out it's like a 3D game was even crazier to me. I wanted to ask Luke what his opinion was on just the premise alone, because this isn't a game that you would normally just like think of even existing. So Luke, have you seen the Die Hard movies with Bruce Willis?
Yeah.
I kind of knew the answer to that one already. So, fun fact, in the early 90s, there was a game series called Die Hard Trilogy. Okay, I mean, crazy enough concept. What I think, and you know what, whatever, like there's movie tie-in games all the time. It's nothing, out of the ordinary, still crazy, but whatever. What I did not expect to see happen was in 2000, a PlayStation game released, is also on Windows, called Die Hard Trilogy 2, Viva Las Vegas.
Oh, yes, there's a sequel to the trilogy.
That is exactly what I was wondering when I saw this. I was like, Die Hard Trilogy 2? So essentially, if I'm understanding it correctly, it's just like a fictitious Die Hard 4 before like they actually did Die Hard 4 and 5 as movies. So they just call it Die Hard Trilogy 2 because they had already published Die Hard Trilogy 1. It's a different studio. Some team members on the first team might have been there. There was a pretty big gap in years too between the releases. Like we're talking 1996 to 2000. So it was like a 4-year gap.
For the 90s, that's a long development cycle.
That's a very long development cycle for Die Hard to Die Hard Trilogy 2 Viva Las Vegas.
In none of the movies, even the ones they made later, I don't think they go to Vegas ever.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is pretty much like a Die Hard 4 before Die Hard 4.
So it's just a fanfic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess the way that they tried to angle it was in the first Die Hard trilogy, there was like 3 distinct gameplay styles. And this game also has 3 distinct gameplay styles. And depending on what mission you're on is like what type of gameplay you're doing. But it's not really that different from like what other video games are already doing. It was like sometimes you're doing action adventure, sometimes you're doing something called sharpshooting, and sometimes you're doing extreme driving. The thing is, the game did not review well. Most of them were like, wow, it's cool that there's 3 different things, but none of them are executed well. So it's just, I don't know. Apparently the game had some interesting things going on, like you could use a jackhammer as a weapon. It also supported the PlayStation mouse, light guns, and steering wheels for specific parts of the game. That's about it.
Forgot about the PlayStation mouse.
Yeah, I knew there was an N64 mouse. Didn't think about the PlayStation mouse.
You know, if there would have been a Die Hard Trilogy 3, do you think they would have released it on PlayStation 2 and made a part with the iToy?
You know, I had to just go and check because I was like, did they ever make a Die Hard? Maybe 3. 2 years later, there was another Die Hard game, but this one was called Die Hard Vendetta, and it takes place after the first 3 Die Hard movies. I don't know if it's connected. It's a different studio again, same publisher, but it doesn't seem to acknowledge the Viva Las Vegas one, but you know, I don't know. I don't know what the video game Die Hard lore is like, but in case you're curious, the game also did not score well, so.
Warpath Jurassic Park is a dinosaur fighting game released in 1999 for the PlayStation 1. This game tried to answer the age-old question, what if dinosaurs fought like Mortal Kombat characters? And the answer was kind of like mixed reviews, and even a 5 out of 10 by IGN, so, you know. That's pretty low score for IGN.
I'm sorry, did you say the age-old question?
Yeah.
As to who would win? Wait, what? Can you just rephrase that? I'm trying to catch up.
What if dinosaurs fought like Mortal Kombat characters?
I mean, it's a cool concept.
It is a cool concept, but sadly, the execution was completely butchered. Honestly, like, this was like done. There's like other games where you fight as dinosaurs, like in, you know, Mortal Kombat style, and they were done better. But this one just took the Jurassic Park IP, which there isn't any like dinosaurs tied to the Jurassic Park IP, right? Like if you see a T-Rex, like a generic T-Rex, you're not like, oh, this is Jurassic Park. You're just like, this is just an animal from back in the day, you know, a couple 100 years ago or something. They just slapped on some Jurassic Park like logos and stuff on the menus, and other than that, there wasn't anything interesting about this. The gameplay was very one-sided. Apparently, you pick the T-Rex and you can beat anyone else because they didn't really balance it, and the T-Rex was just so overpowered.
Hold on. It's just because the T-Rex is the best dinosaur.
Yes, but also it's something about like when you play the game, it's like the T-Rex just has a bigger range when you like whip the tail, and then like a small raptor.
Just like real dinosaurs. I don't know, T-Rexes are the best. That's all I'm trying to say. A realistic game.
Yeah, hyper realistic, dude. Look at the gameplay. And I don't know, this is just a really random use of the Jurassic Park IP, and the reviews, you know, kind of all were negative and mostly not very fond of the game. The Xbox Live Arcade Place had some bangers, but it also had this game called Yaris, which was a free game that was just made to promote the Toyota Yaris. Basically designed as an interactive Toyota Yaris ad, but they added some sci-fi weapons and stuff into the mix, which that's pretty weird. Like, you don't even really race, so the whole game is like half on-rail shooter, and there's like this robotic arm coming out of the hood of your Yaris, and you shoot down like enemies like aliens and flying saucers and stuff like that. And the whole game is like set in these tubes, so you're like these miniature cars, and it kind of reminded me of, you ever seen those special stages in Sonic the Hedgehog 2? You remember those?
Yeah, where you like run on the thing.
Yeah, and it's basically, it just looks like that, but it only has one stage, which isn't that bad because it was a free game, I guess, but it was still really lackluster. The gameplay was very boring and not that snappy, which is kind of weird for a racing game, obviously. But the game featured all 3 models of the Toyota Yaris and the real-world color names. So if this game really convinced you to go to the dealership and buy a Toyota Yaris in 2008, you can tell them exactly what model and exactly what factory color you want, you know? So, great marketing, guys. And I remember mentioning this game to Elijah a couple of days ago, and he actually reminded me of another game that did a similar concept, but on the N64. And that game was called Beetle Adventure Racing. It was the same concept, like an interactive ad, where you just race in Volkswagen Beetles, and it was just made to promote Volkswagen Beetles. But that game is actually good. Like, the controls are good, you know, it's a solid experience, there's variety, there's different cars. And I guess that's how you do a car ad, right, in video game form. So then I got WWE Crush Hour on my list. What do you expect from a game called WWE Crush Hour?
Crush Hour?
Yeah, Crush Hour.
Probably not what the game actually is, because in my head I think of like a bunch of WWE wrestlers like sitting around drinking Orange Crush.
Honestly, that would have been closer to what they do at WWE. But this is a vehicular combat game, like Twisted Metal, but with WWE wrestlers. It has nothing to do with wrestling. It's just your favorite wrestlers in like pickup trucks ramming into each other. And the whole story is like Vince McMahon has like monopolized all television networks. So WWE is like the only form of entertainment. And the wrestlers have like to do all the different shows, like racing or vehicular combat shows. I don't know. It's like a weird story.
Do you think that means in that universe there's like also like wrestlers doing like television soap operas and stuff like that?
Yes, I think so, which we have in our universe, kind of, so.
Wait, really?
I mean, they do like the the reality TV show, the dramatized reality TV show. That's kind of it's like keeping up with the Kardashians, but with like wrestling people.
But that's reality television. This isn't fictionalized soaps.
Yeah, sure, but it's pretty close.
I mean, reality television's real, right?
Yeah, it's real. So, anyways, this was like during a weird time where WWE tried to do like different like games that weren't wrestling related, because they also made a game for the Game Boy called WWF Betrayal, which is like a Contra type game, like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, which doesn't have anything to do with wrestling either. But at least in that one you can throw some punches, which I guess is closer to what wrestlers do than driving cars. I don't know. Just a really weird game, WWE Crush Hour.
There was another game from a couple of years earlier that was surprisingly not bad either. We talked about Taco Bell already, but Chex did a game called Chex Quest. And essentially it was just a Doom overhaul clone, but kind of a cool game. You could get it in your Chex cereal, because why not? And it ended up spawning some sequels that were available online, I think. But, I mean, it wasn't a bad game. That's something.
But I think it was like supposed to be like family friendly because it comes with a cereal, right? So like obviously Doom was very controversial with its violence.
It would have been fine if they made Chex Quest violent, I think.
Nah, dude. Nah, we would have seen that on Fox News.
Oh no. The one that we definitely have to talk about, like we can't make the video without at least mentioning them, but everybody knows about them. The fast food games that would release by McDonald's, Burger King, Domino's. Burger King was probably the most infamous situation of that because they released Sneak King, which came out for the Xbox and Xbox 360. Interesting box for the game, right? Because they didn't want to print two different boxes. They just did the Xbox 360 logo, but without the 360 on it. But you could get the game for $5. So even if the game wasn't good, it was a game for $5. It was a brilliant idea. And I think it actually ended up being one of the best-selling games for the Xbox original. You play as the terrifying-looking king sneaking around. I don't think there's a whole lot of depth to that game. Domino's and McDonald's did some stuff earlier on, mostly just side-scrolling things. There was the Noid game from Domino's, which was a whole crazy arc. Wasn't there some guy who, like, held up a Domino's store because he thought that the Noid was based on him or talking to him or something? I forgot all about that. There's definitely something there, guys.
Yeah, that was a hostage situation related to the Noid in Georgia.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that. I think it ended, it resolved itself. The guy turned himself in.
Yeah, the Noid was charged with...
The Noid was charged.
Yeah, that's what it says on Wikipedia. Noid was charged with...
Oh, the guy's name was Noid, though. I thought you were talking about the Noid, like the mascot.
I mean, that's a joke I was making. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, that's why he thought it was based off him. His name was Kenneth Lamar Noid.
Wasn't he like forcing the Domino's employees they had hostage to make him pizzas?
Oh yeah, he says, yeah, make him 2 pizzas. Do you think he got charged with the theft of 2 pizzas as well?
I'm sure it came into restitution.
But also, this whole incident apparently is the reason we don't have the Noid anymore nowadays.
He still shows up from time to time, though.
Right, but they tuned him down.
Yeah, definitely.
He's pretty annoying, though.
No. He's a national treasure.
I see him. It's on site.
Just so we don't miss any other good, interesting licensed games for this video, Donald Trump's Real Estate Tycoon is a game that exists. Surprisingly, it doesn't have the lowest ratings in the world, but it's a crazy concept for a game that, I mean, we have to talk about it. I mean, Tycoon games were all over the buzz in the late 90s and early 2000s, and Donald Trump's name being slapped on one was definitely a twist I didn't see coming. Especially when doing research on this video. It's like a typical real estate tycoon type game. What would you expect from a tycoon game? You know, the Zoo Tycoon, you got like the animal displays. You know, Roller Coaster Tycoon, you got roller coasters. Real Estate Tycoon just doesn't have the same, you know, fun attachment unless you just like the business side of things. But nonetheless, you do the real estate stuff. You actually are kind of an employee of Donald Trump through most of the game. As you do well, you get promoted, and the goal is to like meet Donald Trump on the top floor of his building, I guess. And then after you reach the top floor, you then go into a competition against Donald Trump, and you have to beat him to like win the game. The game scored high, so yeah, just a weird game that exists. Thought we should include it.
Would you say it's a fair observation that Star Wars is like kind of popular, or part of what makes it popular is like that there's a lot of action, like in space or with the lightsaber battles, right? I feel like that's a big part of what, you know, is interesting about Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
So like, how would you feel if I told you there was an official Star Wars chess game?
Ooh, sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean...
Is it a video game?
It is a video game released for the DOS and Sega CD in 1993. And it was kind of based off something else called, like, Battle Chess or something. Like a different franchise, and they licensed out Star Wars and then did, like, a version of it. All these chess pieces have, like, their own animations, and they have, like, executions. Like, instead of just removing the chess piece, it's like very violent executions.
Wait, this sounds great.
Yes, but I don't know. It was kind of bad. I don't know. It didn't. I mean, I don't know. It was on the MS-DOS back in the day.
How do you make a bad chess game?
I don't know. People said that like it was either too easy or too hard. Like the AI was really bad.
Oh, I guess I didn't think about like what you're playing against.
It was either like just a pushover or impossible to beat. There was no like in between, no variety. And I don't know. It was just kind of weird though to like have these violent animations in this chess game, no?
No, I'm down for it. I think this would probably be a good game if the AI was better.
Okay, then let me tell you, I have another couple executions written down. Darth Vader just executes Yoda with his lightsaber. You can get that, like just... Or you can get C-3PO gunned down, like he's a war criminal.
Oh.
I do have another pretty weird one, like really bizarre. You don't know who Russel Krant is? I don't know either. It's like a British TV astrologer about like horoscopes and stuff like that. I actually want to send you the cover and... because I saw the cover and I was like, what the hell is going on here? So I'm gonna send it to you real quick.
Oh my god. The hell is going on
And
here?
I looked into it and someone licensed out this guy's likeness and astrology, like, I don't know, knowledge, and made a Nintendo DS game. And the whole game is basically just like pages of like reading about astrology. Then there's a very short exam and maybe a mini game at the end. And then you're, I guess, on the same level as Russel Krant and you can predict people's horoscope or something like that. It's basically just a web page with a little quiz on your Nintendo DS that you probably had to pay like $40, $50, $60 for back in the day.
Okay, I have an idea on how we could just waste a bunch of money.
Oh, how?
We should buy this game and then get it PSA graded.
Oh, we could do that. Yeah, let's see. What does Russel Krant's astrology go for on eBay? $4. $5. Oh, plus shipping though. Well, so like 20. Let's say 20.
That's still a lot, but I mean, manageable.
I mean, it's a bargain for what you get. Also, I just realized I'm wearing my jacket the wrong way around, but
Well, it's too late now.
it is what it is.
You should just commit to it now. So I thought there was kind of this specific thing I needed to explain, and I didn't know how to best explain it for the video. So I ended up making a slideshow, and I wanted to present the slideshow if that's all right.
All right.
Okay, so I made the slideshow.
Is it by you or who's it by?
It is by me. It is Elijah's mini presentation on licensing games that were bad. I've included a picture of me. It was the only picture I had on my computer. It is before the weight loss.
Who's that, Elijah?
This was right before Sandy and I's wedding. My photographer took this picture as our engagement photo. Wasn't a flattering angle, I'll tell you that for sure.
I mean,
But it's okay. I mean,
I've seen worse.
it was more important that I had a picture of me so you knew who made the presentation, okay?
Right.
So let's go ahead and get into this.
What?
This isn't supposed to be here.
Who's Hank?
I don't know. Used a template from Google Slides, and it I was using this template and I forgot to delete the slide, I guess.
Also, what's this guy doing? Did he like fall? Is he like getting up from tripping?
We'll just go to the next slide. Okay. Games that were bad, but they wanted to make money anyways. And this is my first point here. As you can see from the PowerPoint, we have tie-ins that like didn't need to exist, but they were definitely just trying to make money. There was a Lost video game for the Xbox 360. Prison Break, The Conspiracy was a game, which is wild. They even made a Fight Club game. Now, all three of these games actually have something in common. They're not good. I mean, there's not much more to say. I was surprised they made a Fight Club game, especially one that ended up being not good. The big takeaway is that during the mid to late 2000s, this was a common thing. Like, if there was a TV show or a movie that was successful, it was getting a game. And it didn't matter if it was good anyways. As you can see, this is the reasons why a lot of the time they would make these types of games. They could do a short turnaround time on the games a lot of the time, I assume, because the games were so bad. They could make money. Dumb kids would buy the games, especially if it was like a Disney property or something like that. Source material could have been good. Like Lost was a great TV show. Prison Break was exciting, especially in the first season before things just got out of hand.
Okay, just the first season. I want to say that. Like,
I had fun with the second season, but then it just gets to become this loop of just like things always escalating and never having a resolution. GameStop. And I don't know. These are my reasons. Okay, next slide.
He could have made it any slower.
as you can see, they stopped for a while after like a peak of maybe like Wii shovelware games just really just being like everywhere. I think people caught on that sometimes these tie-in things aren't that good. And I think sales started to reflect that after a while. And we actually did see a period of time where tie-ins that were just like cheap cash grabs did slow down. They didn't completely stop, but they slowed down a little bit. And then they would do their own thing. And this kind of was around 2013-ish. So instead of doing like a Fast and Furious movie game, they would do a spin-off like Fast and Furious Showdown. You still get Vin Diesel jumping out of a moving vehicle, but it was its own story, right? It was like, this isn't just an adaptation of the source material. It's its own thing. They did The Walking Dead Survival Instinct. It was Daryl Dixon and Merle Dixon before season 1 of The Walking Dead. And neither of these games were good. They were actually dog shit. But what I'm trying to say is they changed how they were approaching doing this dog shit. Okay, then...
Oh, what the
But
hell?
there was other types of gimmicks that they started doing around this time, especially with motion control being a thing. We had the Michael Jackson The Experience game capitalizing on his death. I don't know why. I'm not trying to make light of it. I just think it's a crazy thing looking back now. Jillian Michaels, she was that woman that screamed at people on The Biggest Loser. She got a Kinect game called Fitness Adventure. Harry Potter for Kinect.
Wait, did that pop up?
And there was a TV show called Hole in the Wall based on like a Japanese television show, I think. And yet they had to like fit in this hole in the wall or they'd fall in the water. They made a Kinect game on that. And I actually bought it. Loved it. It was so much fun for the 2 times I actually used my Kinect. Never played it again though. But it was like the one silver lining that came out of the Kinect era.
Yeah, I mean, they had stuff like this on the iToy, right? Like similar concept where you hold like a pose.
It wasn't as technologically advanced as the Kinect, dude. The Kinect had like the IR sensor, dude. The heat motion. But don't worry. They came back and they started doing... Oh, wait. I hit it too many
spoilers.
times. Okay, I hit it too many times. Okay. We're seeing an influx of these weird spin-off things coming back a bit. Specifically, Game Mill Entertainment, they've been pretty bad. The Walking Dead Destinies, crazy that game even came out when it did. Like, 10 years after The Walking Dead aired. Like, the seasons that it's based on, because it's based on the first, like, 3 seasons of the show.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it's
it's
crazy.
The prison on the cover.
Yeah. It's based on the first 3 or 4 seasons of the show, right? I think it's 4. And, like, it's like an alternate timeline thing, but, like, why is it out now? And the game's not good either. Lord of the Rings Gollum came out. They did Avatar: The Last Airbender Quest for Balance. And then I didn't have enough room on the slideshow, but they also had that King Kong game.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
So, I mean, we can show gameplay of it, but that one was also not good. But what about games? Advertisement games. They still exist. They exist. Doritos Crash Course, like we said at the beginning of the video, great example of that. Colonel Sanders had a game.
Mm-hmm. Dating simulator.
It's a dating sim, okay? But we see more, instead of like standalone commission games, it's a lot easier for a brand just to do a crossover with the more popular games. So like Call of Duty, Fortnite, those games do a lot of brand crossovers nowadays. Doesn't surprise me. Fortnite's starting to do it more and more. But like we've seen this type of stuff exist, brand product placement exist in games for a long time. Maybe a topic for another video. But it's just, this is just where we've come. The end. Thank you for watching. What'd you think?
I'm applauding. I don't think Discord is picking it up. But,
It was pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was.
I worked on that for
amazing.
like 2 hours today.
Dude, honestly, I thought it was 8 hours.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? Dude, it was like flawless. Like,
Oh, okay, yeah. Thank you.
so perfect. I can really see the effort you put in. Appreciate the effort you put in.
Yeah,
And I like the animation.
Yeah, no, those are the best. It really just adds the little spice that you need.
Okay, so Do you know who Cool Spot is?
No.
It is the mascot for 7-Up. I did not know 7-Up had a mascot, but apparently in the 90s, that was a thing. And this mascot got 2 licensed games. One of them called just Cool Spot, and the other one called Cool Spot Goes to Hollywood. And both of them were kind of like weird platformers. I think the first one, there's like different locations, like a beach and stuff. And then the second one, there's like Hollywood sets. Also, the second one is like a 2.5D platformer. It's like this sideways angle, top-down 2D. I don't know how to explain it. You'll see it on the gameplay. It's pretty weird. But I guess they really tried to push Cool Spot as the 7-Up mascot, and I don't think anyone remembers this character. I don't know. I thought maybe I just missed it, but like it's definitely not like the Pepsi Man or the King or Ronald. But I guess they tried to get it up there.
I really never knew this existed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a spot, like a dot with a red dot with arms. Wait, is that what it's on 7-Up?
Is he like the hyphen in between 7-Up?
It's just like the red dot on the 7-Up logo.
Oh, like the hyphen.
Yeah, but he has arms and legs and sunglasses.
The classic M&M mascot take. Okay, so I just had to talk about this, but this is something also, since we talked a little bit about like games as a service that are also doing crossovers, Roblox, it just comes out of left field with some weird things going on. There is an official Walmart Roblox experience. It's like Walmart Land. I don't know why it's a thing. There's like fan games already where it's just like Walmart recreated, but there's like an official Walmart Land. And this isn't the only thing. There's been multiple Roblox crossovers with different brands where you can go and explore. And I don't know, like, are they trying to instill brand awareness at a young age? So like you grow up and you're like, man, I remember going to Walmart Land as a kid. Let's go to Walmart or something. I don't know. But I mean, I just had to talk about it. Like, it's crazy. Also, like, slightly unrelated, but like, have you seen the Sonic the Hedgehog game in Roblox? It's legitimately a full-on like Sonic the Hedgehog game just running in the Roblox engine. Probably had a massive budget.
Made by Sega?
I think it was made by Sega or approved by Sega. It is an official game, and it doesn't even look like a Roblox game. So it's like big companies are getting involved with Roblox, and it's surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember the Roblox engine actually in the last couple of years took off insanely. I remember playing like a Modern Warfare 2019 clone, and it actually was a good like Call of Duty clone, right? Like, it played well, the shooting was fine, but it was just Roblox. It's just really just weird. What it was called.
We used to play Phantom Forces back in the day, dude.
Right, but that definitely had that Roblox charm to it. That one felt like a Roblox game, and
Roblox charm or the Roblox curse to it.
Let's just be nice and call the Roblox charm, The next set of games I want to talk about, they just kind of fall into like the same category. First of all, we have the game Deadliest Catch Alaskan Storm, and I could tell you what the game is like, but let me just show you this clip and I think you'll get the vibe. So then there's also this game based on Duck Dynasty, which, you remember that show? It's like a bunch of dudes that like duck hunting.
Yeah, they had the long beards.
Right, they all had long beards, and that's kind of all that there is in the game too. They all have long beards, and then you kind of shoot some ducks, and you drive around in a boat sometimes. But this game actually came out on a lot of platforms. It came out on PC, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One, all in 2014. And then it got a Nintendo 3DS port separately.
Are you saying it's not a Dynasty Warrior spinoff?
It is not a Dynasty Warrior spinoff. Also, remember when we talked about those like History Channel games, like the Civil War ones and stuff like that? Those were also crazy. But I guess they're not licensed games, but they were pretty interesting.
They just existed. There are a lot of licensed games that are not good. We know that. One big thing that always was really interesting to me is that in the like mid to late 2000s, so many movies were getting licensed video games, and I don't know if it was more an attempt to just like capitalize on the advertising that the movie's already getting, or if it's just trying to like make a quick buck, or if it was even used to promote a movie. It's a weird like gray area as to like where the money goes, where the money comes from, and if it actually was effective or not. But every once in a while, there was an okay game that would release. Sure, we would see games like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Ant Bully as video games. Why? I don't know. I don't think that they were a good idea. But sometimes, every once in a while, a banger would come out, and a game that nobody talks about nowadays is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe video game based on the Chronicles of Narnia. Played that game as a kid. Surprisingly not the worst game I've ever played. I haven't played the game since I was a kid, so it could just be an awful game, but I do remember having fun with that one. You could play as like the different kids. They had their own abilities. I remember a house getting bombed. Yeah, wild times. I'm sure someone else out there agrees with me that game ended up not being as bad as you would think. Now, that's not to say like every movie game was good, because they definitely were not. Golden Compass was a bad one, but there was still an occasional game that was good, like King Kong. I think the Percy Jackson King Kong game.
Percy Jackson.
Was it not Percy Jackson? Was it Peter Jackson?
Jackson. Percy Jackson, bro. Is that the guy that like throws like the lightnings, or is he Aquaman's son or something? I don't know.
Yeah, the Aquaman son movie.
With King Kong.
No, Poseidon.
Yeah.
What was that movie? It's like such a blur. The lightning.
Percy Jackson and the Olympians? No, that's a TV show.
Wow, Is his name Percy Jackson, though?
No, it's Peter Jackson, not Percy Jackson.
Wait, so there's no Percy Jackson that's existed ever, unrelated to King Kong?
I mean, there's a fictional character, Percy Jackson.
From the movie?
Yeah, from the movie Percy Jackson.
That's where I got the lines disconnected.
This reminds me of the Insane Bolt incident.
I didn't know. I only had heard of some runner guy named I thought his name was the Insane Bolt.
You thought it was a soccer player called Insane Bolt.
Yeah, that's what it was. The computer just made like a horn sound.
What?
Like, you know, like in those movies where like one person pulls out the like horn and like blows into it.
Like a bugle horn?
Not a bugle horn, but like an ivory horn or something that like makes a loud noise to declare war.
Oh, like a tusk? Like,
yeah, like something like that. Yeah. I think it just made that sound.
So this one is a really old one from the 90s, SNES era, and based on a 90s television show, actually. You ever seen Home Improvement?
Yes.
Pretty fun show. I remember watching it as a kid. I don't know. It was like about this guy and his TV show and his family, I guess, and he's like a handyman or something.
Yeah. Tim Allen.
Tim Allen, yeah, that's pretty it. But they released a game called Home Improvement Power Tool Pursuit, which is all about Tim Allen fighting for his fucking life.
What does that even mean?
So the game starts off, and some like creature or something steals the tools, and then Tim Allen pulls out his nail gun, and then the whole game you fight dinosaurs, robots, mummies. There's no explanation why. You just start fighting these like all these creatures Mega Man style, and you have different weapons. Like you have the nail gun, you have a blowtorch. Some levels you can dual wield chainsaws as Tim Allen, and there really is no explanation to why this is happening. It's just Tim Allen goes on a rampage against like the intergalactic forces. I don't know. It's like instead of the Avengers, when New York was attacked, Tim Allen showed up with some chainsaws.
I think they need to make this a movie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I you know, I'd see Tim Allen in it. What was this? His catchphrase was like ha ha ha. Oh, wait, that was
no, that wasn't it.
That's what I meant. So, funny thing about this game though is they had this whole thing where they didn't put a manual or an in-game tutorial, and instead they had a sticker that just read "Real men don't need instructions," and that also would be the message when you boot up the game. And I think that's goddamn right.
I think that's a solid note there.
So about 2 months ago, we did a video on games they never wanted you to play, where we went over like canceled video games, and one of the parts was black, and a lot of people were speculating what happened. Some people thought the devices were broken, some people thought it was a YouTube monetization issue, and some people just let us know that the part is black. And what really happened is I just, fucked up and forgot to edit that part. So I wanted to put it here because it is kind of an advertisement game, but it was cancelled. But the part is still good. So here it is in its full glory, edited this time.
So this next game is actually really, really weird, that I had to get Luke in a call just specifically to go over my findings, because it is incredibly fascinating. So I was doing research, right? And have you ever seen the commercials, like those raisin commercials from the 90s or so?
Yeah, it's like the dancing raisins, right? One of them has like an Elvis haircut maybe sometimes.
Maybe. So long story short, if either you don't know or the people watching this don't know, California Raisins had this like grape advertisement commercial that was like incredibly popular for some reason in the 80s and 90s. And long story short, they started out by using the characters, and then they would sing, and then they were like a boy band, and then they released like 4 albums with different record labels.
4 albums?
Yeah, like this was like a legitimate thing, and like they did a commercial with Michael Jackson.
Maybe that's what I remember. Yeah, maybe the Michael Jackson one. One of them has like a weird haircut or something.
Okay, but what's weird about it is that these things were like super popular, I guess, or from a marketing standpoint, it was like doing really well. So, long story short, there were like spin-offs coming out of it. They had like a television series, like an animated series that had like a season before it was canceled. And during the late 80s, there was like a lot of merchandising going into the mascot characters of the Raisins. I mean, they were also promoting like the Raisin Company, so you could like buy raisins and eat them. But for the most part, it was like becoming its own thing. Now, a couple of interesting things came from this, like a video game called the California Raisins Grape Escape, which ended up getting canceled, though the game was mostly finished. When I was looking into it, the reasoning for it getting canceled opened up a whole nother rabbit hole. So I'm just gonna like read this verbatim off of, I think, Wikipedia, right? The game was canceled due to the California Raisins' dwindling popularity because of the downfall sales of raisins in the late 1980s and early 1900s. Or sorry, early 1990s. So like it was like the raisin crash of the late 80s and 90s that caused this game to get canceled. Not anything related to the video game industry.
You know how there's the retail apocalypse? This was the raisin apocalypse.
Right. I don't know what happened, why people stopped buying raisins. Why? I mean, I don't know. Apparently, they were a really popular snack until they weren't. Even more interestingly, though, the game was probably at the point where it was finished because there were publications with the game, like the Game Player's Encyclopedia of Nintendo Games Volume 3 had hints for the game itself that never released in it. And there were flyers with upcoming Capcom NES games that also included this as like a listing for an upcoming game to look out for. But the lore is even more interesting because then I was like, well, why did the raisin market crash? Or why did like the Sun-Maid and California raisin thing stop being this like ongoing thing? Or at least why did they slow down in the early 90s? The death of the raisin, California raisins, I guess, fully came though into effect like a decade after the game was canceled, which was in 2002 when there was like some big internal controversy with the California Raisin Advisory Board, which essentially had members of the grape farming industry who were growing alarmed, and this is verbatim from Wikipedia, from increased fees, which were driven by an ever-escalating amount of money being spent on the California Raisins campaign. So essentially, like, farmers were feeling like the fees for, like, marketing that gets taken out of their profits was starting to become exponentially higher, and it was likely becoming exponentially higher because of the absurd amount of money that these California raisins were having for their production and commercials and existence altogether. So they were alleging straight up that these advertising campaigns were resulting in all of the profits from the campaign eventually funneling back to this main company, and it was like a vicious cycle of like more money, more popularity, and dwindling profits. So ultimately, the California Raisins were disbanded at that point.
Damn, did they broke up like NSYNC?
Yeah, with no real reunion in sight. So this game was like a mystery. It was kind of lost media for a while. And ultimately, though, it randomly would reappear with a beta cartridge of the game, which ended up being sold for about $1,000, and then it was dumped online, thus resurrecting the California Raisins Grape Escape back to life. The main purpose of the game, you'd be like playing as one of the raisins. You go through like a side-scrolling level. There was various evil fruit and vegetables, and apparently they had stolen the music, the raisins music, and they had to go back and get it. Yeah. It was pretty basic, but it was an NES game. It was produced by Capcom, so I don't know. It'd be interesting if it would have actually come out, but we never got to see the official release. But eventually it did end up leaking, and you can play it nowadays. But I don't know. I was very impressed looking into this. The fact that the California Raisins released 4 albums. Some of their music charted.
Do you know what number in the charts? Like number 1?
The US Top 200, number 60.
Oh, it's actually pretty high out there.
I don't know why. But yeah, they did 4. They did 3 albums and a Christmas album, and that is the lore that I dove into for the California Raisins, who apparently haven't been seen Since 2002. Also, mind you, like I didn't even go into all the other details because there was like a primetime television show called Meet the Raisins, which was like a mockumentary. There was, of course, the cartoon series we talked about, and there was like talks about possibly bringing them back in the future. They haven't come back yet. In 2015, it was announced that there'd be a live-action CGI reboot of the Raisins, but I don't think anything ever came into fruition with that. The Wikipedia page seems pretty outdated in regards to that, and it's not like there's a lot of other sources talking about the California Raisins nowadays. So, you know, information out there seems pretty scarce. Well, I think we have a good list here. Huge thank you to our patrons for making these types of videos possible, and YouTube members. You people are the best.
We love you.
If you guys want to watch more videos like this, check out our channel. Subscribe if you're watching, especially on television. I know it's like 2 extra clicks, but helps our channel out since a lot of people watch us on like consoles, televisions, and whatnot more than on the computer. So that does go a long way, surprisingly. So thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you soon with another video. YouTube thinks you'll like this video. Cool.
Peace.